Okay guys, welcome back to the 300 bird challenge with me, Stu and Sarah. We're trying to see 300 different bird species before the end of the year. We'll be back in a second. While we rush over there, I'm going to play the intro. There's some birds we haven't seen already this year, some oyster catchers, a few other things. Stay tuned, back in a sec. Okay guys, welcome back to part 2 of our trip to Cape May and New Jersey. Sarah, specifically, where are we this morning?
Ocean Drive, 2 Mile Landing.
We've already seen some American oyster catchers, a bird that Sarah really likes. I like them too. It's a new one for the year. We're going to continue along a spit of land. There's a few more shorebirds we're going to take a look at. Before we left our hotel, Sarah, our ever-diligent researcher, found that 2 Mile Landing, right off Ocean Drive, would be a great spot for shorebirds. It's nestled between Cape May and Wildwood, a marina surrounded by rocky shores, salt marshes, and Jarvis Sound. And here's those American oyster catchers we mentioned. New bird. Sara has a soft spot for wildlife with quirky adaptations that help animals specialise in their environments. The more disproportionate the body part, the better. Think the eye's long middle finger for grub hunting, or the lanky legs of a black-necked stilt. Well, these American oyster catchers really fit the bill. A brief examination of Jarvis Sound, but then we made for a series of bays where birds appeared to be sheltering from the wind. Funnily enough, we've bumped into this group of birders before. We last saw them in our video from Florida in the dry Tortugas. It's a small world. Birders just flock together, don't they? Let's try to ID some birds here, but shorebirds in non-breeding plumage are a challenge, so let us know if we missed anything. Here we have oyster catchers, of course. The other birds are black-bellied plovers. And these little guys? Least sandpipers. There's also a few semi-palmated plovers mixed in, like that one on the right. More black-bellied plovers again, except the massive one. That's a willet. The darker bird on the right is a ruddy turnstone. Let's go back to the willet and black-bellied plovers, because who is this shaking their butt? A spotted sandpiper. Now, we need some expert help here. There's a red knot hiding somewhere in this shot. It's hunkered down, so we can't see the beak, one of its key features. We think this is it, but if you're a shorebird wizard, let us know. For now, we're going to count it, because a guide helped us to spot it, so thanks, guide. Who's that in the reeds? These birds were playing hard to get, but with a little patience, one got brave. Here we have the elusive seaside sparrow, a lifer, doing the splits while eating seeds. After bidding farewell to the birds and the birders, we packed up and moved on, although there were a few more sparrows in the parking lot, mostly song sparrows and a few savanna sparrows. Time for us to move on to a new stop. Okay guys, pretty good start to our morning's birding there. I think the highlight for me was probably the seaside sparrow. Quite an elusive bird, but did manage to get a couple of decent shots of it as it came up high into the grass to kind of have a check out of what we were up to. We're moving on now, Sarah, to our new stop.
Breezy Lee Marsh.
And what was seen there?
A yellow-breasted chat.
Now, I'm not going to guarantee that to you guys. That would be a lifer, and I think it's probably quite a hard bird to find. But if anything else crops up too, that will also be a bonus. Stay tuned. We'll go there now. A little further west along Ocean Drive, we parked in the small parking area at Breezy Lee Yacht Basin. The only really suitable habitat appeared to be this brush of cattails and other marshy plants. We did see a couple of birds, starting with this one, yellow warbler, missing its nice streaking at this time of year. actually a couple of yellow warblers. And then the second bird. We went with the photo on this one because it wouldn't keep still, but it's just a common yellowthroat. But I wonder, could someone have thought it was something else? Okay guys, we've had a quick look at this brushy area behind me. No sign of any yellow-breasted chat, but we did see a common yellowthroat, and we do wonder if someone reported a yellow-breasted chat that was actually a common yellowthroat. They're superficially similar looking. The yellow-breasted chat is kind of a nemesis bird. It's one of those birds that I've almost given up on trying to see, especially in Ontario. It's quite a difficult bird to find. Maybe one day. Stay tuned to the channel. Let's find out if I ever see one. We're going to move on to somewhere else now. Stay tuned. I won't bother with the map again. We're on Sunset Boulevard towards the southern edge of New Jersey in a marsh habitat. We loved the hide here in our last video, so naturally we're back for more. Let's see what we can find today. It's quieter than last time, but here's a snowy egret stalking around. And close views of a green-winged teal. The ever-present yellowlegs. This one I think is a greater. I scanned the marsh with binoculars and my camera too, looking for the Virginia rail. We saw some kind of rail, but of course this trick has been played on us before quite recently. This is a Sara. I don't mean to sound ungrateful, normally we'd be stoked to see a Sara, but we've seen quite a few this year, and no Virginia rail. Come on! This one was quite showy, popping in and out of the reeds to grab a bite. With no Virginia rail, we decided to leave the marsh and head towards a beach. Along the way, this path led to higher ground where we experienced something spectacular. Guys, look at this. Hundreds, if not thousands, of tree swallows actively migrating. We had never been lucky enough to witness such a spectacular migratory event before, as these thousands upon thousands of tree swallows flew overhead away from Canada and the northern USA, where their supply of flying insect food would be starting to dry up hundreds of miles to the southern USA and Mexico, Central America and the Caribbean. Next spring, these birds will be a very welcome sight back in Canada. Buckeye. Returning from the beach, I saw this really cool butterfly. As the name suggests, the common buckeye isn't exactly rare, but I've been paying more attention to butterflies lately, and this was my first time seeing one. They're a little more common down here. Look out for the adult butterfly form in August to September in southern Ontario, and a little later into October in New Jersey because it's a bit warmer down here. As we were leaving, we had a flock of white ibis fly overhead. And not a great shot of this jittery house wren. Flyovers can be tough to get video, so here's a photo. Peregrine falcon. And just a couple more things to show you. A fiery skipper butterfly. And this funky thing I had to look up because I'd never seen it before. Stinging rose caterpillar moths only occur south of the Great Lakes. Well guys, unfortunately no Virginia rail. I'll tell you what, we've seen so many Saras this year in the pursuit of Virginia rails that haven't turned up, but we'll take the Sara, I guess. Had a couple of cool flyovers too. Time for us to take lunch now. We're meeting Sarah's mother again. Back after this. After lunch, we visited a series of different seawalls in the town of Wildwood. Now, Wildwood is just north of Cape May on the Atlantic coast. We explored the northern part of town near the neighbourhood of Anglesey towards the Hereford Inlet. Really just seeing more of the same, oyster catchers and gulls. From this view, amongst the gulls, we saw royal terns, with a few smaller common terns mixed in. And finally, this mess of shorebirds. Again, we're still learning these, especially in non-breeding plumage. I don't think there's anything new here, but it's on the limits of my camera zoom, so let us know if you see anything new and it will be a big help to us. Thanks in advance. For our next stop, we returned to where this video began, for more shorebird punishment. We hoped the changing tide might reveal a new species or two. Well guys, we've been trying a few different places throughout the day, as you'll have heard, and we decided to come back to the first place where we first started this part 2 of the video, see if there's any more shorebirds that have turned up for us. Looks like we've got a couple of short-billed dowitchers. We're continuing to look. You can see the scope behind us, see if there's anything else out there. Really hard to see, but here's one of the dowitchers here. I moved forward a bit and then spotted something. Cue excitement as you hear me call that I've seen a rail. 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 We had Virginia rail on the mind, and suddenly here was this bird standing right out in the open. It wasn't until a moment later that I remembered, oh yeah, clapper rails are here as well, aren't they? And indeed, this is a clapper rail. The grey-white cheek patch is the giveaway. Thirsty or something? Been a really successful couple of days so far. We've got one more day to go. Guys, stay tuned. I think this is our final stop for the night. We're going to go get dinner and go back to the hotel, but we have tomorrow before our flight to do a little bit more birding, so we'll be back after this. Stay tuned. Sadly, it's our last day here. Time to pack up, but there's still time for a little birding.
Welcome back, everyone. So this morning we had some decisions to make about whether we were revisiting some places to see if anything new came in overnight, or whether we try somewhere new as we make our way up towards the airport. So we have landed on Sandy Hook, which is about 2 hours north of here, but gets us closer to the airport where we're leaving from today.
Yeah, so we're just going to have breakfast and we're going to make that drive now. Stay tuned, guys.
Sandy Hook is a spit to the north of Jersey Shore, and it's right across the water from New York City. It seemed geographically interesting to us. Plus, as Sara mentioned, it was kind of on the way to the airport, so why not? To the west of us here, Sandy Hook Bay and the coast of New Jersey. The Atlantic Ocean lay to the east. Our first stop was at this marina for a couple of potentially new birds that Sara had seen reported. Hi guys, and welcome to Sandy Hook in the northeastern corner of New Jersey. We thought we'd give this a try. Behind us is a chapel, and there were reports that near to this chapel, out on the water here, of a common eider. That would be a nice find. We've scanned the water though, we don't see it. Also possibly a great cormorant. We see double crested. Haven't been able to identify any great cormorants. So it's quite a large park. We'll continue exploring it and find another spot to take a look at, see if we can find any new species for the challenge. Stay tuned. Here's just one of the many double-crested cormorants that are so widespread. Great cormorants do crop up occasionally, but are more common in Europe and a few other places. Great cormorants are a little larger and they have white patches around the throat. There were laughing gulls and royal terns out there too. Too bad, those two birds would have been a big help. A stop at the visitors centre yielded some advice on birding spots. So we walked one of the recommended trails. There are plenty of dilapidated military forts here, dating from the late 1800s. Okay guys, I just spoke to a ranger and they handed us this map and marked a potentially promising location to go birding. We've come to this trail, quite interesting kind of, by American standards, old structures, fortress structures along the edge of the hook. We're going to see if we can find any birds along here, but it's more passerines and perching birds than water birds, which is more what we've been kind of focused on. So we'll take a quick look here, see if we can find anything. So far we've seen a phoebe. We'll continue along the trail and see if anything else interesting shows up for us. Stay tuned, guys. The phoebe was hanging out near the fort, but we continued on to a wooden lookout tower. Okay guys, we've come to the top of this observation deck. You can see New York City in the far distance over there, but not so much in the way of birds, no flybys really. A few kinglets in the trees that steadfastly refuse to appear on camera. Northern flicker in the distance, which I also missed. We can hear a mockingbird in the distance and a couple of towhees as well calling out. I think we're going to move on though. On the map we have a couple of other places that are supposed to be good for water birds, which I think is something we're more likely to see, so let's move on to a new stop. We headed south back down the spit again, passing these strange barrack type buildings. We took a look out on the water at various spots. The scenery at many of them was gorgeous, and the weather had improved, so we were enjoying blue skies, but the birds were a bit scarce. This prairie warbler was probably the highlight.
Okay guys, after those last 2 or 3 stops we really didn't see too much. A few shorebirds out on sandbars on one of the stops, but that is about the extent of it, unfortunately. Although I'm sure that Sandy Hook is great. A few weeks earlier, maybe beginning of September, when the warblers are still heading south and they stop here for a break, or in spring too when they're on their way further north before they hit New York, fill up, have a rest, get something to eat. Speaking of which, we need to do that too before we head to the airport and head back to Toronto. I hope you enjoyed this video, part 2 of 2 episodes in New Jersey. If you didn't see the first one, go watch that now. I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the thumbs up icon. That will cause the YouTube algorithm to kind of present this video to people who might not have found the channel yet. That really helps to spread the word. Also appreciate your comments. What else should they do, Sarah?
They should subscribe and hit the bell for notifications of new videos.
Hit that subscribe button followed by the bell icon. We'd really appreciate your support if you haven't already subscribed. Thanks guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll be back soon. We'll have videos from Saxon Bog in Minnesota, and I'm sure we'll have a few episodes still in Ontario. Still got a few birds to find, don't we? We were hoping for maybe 12 on the low end of optimism to kind of 15. So we've still got a bit of a journey to go to hit that 300. Stay tuned to the channel. Let's see if we can make it. Finally, thanks for watching. See you again soon. Happy birding. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.